Welcome to the Crypto Guild. I'm your host Rahul, and on this channel we talk everything crypto. So guys, today is the second video in the crypto passive income series. This one is about lending. So you can earn passive income on cryptocurrencies using lending. So let's get right into it. So what is lending? So there's essentially two forms of lending, right? In lending, you're essentially giving out your crypto to institutional and regular traders, right? And in exchange for doing this, you get a reward. Now, this process of giving your coins or your cryptocurrency to traders or institutions can be facilitated in like two main ways, right? So the first way is called CeFi and the second one's called DeFi. So CeFi is centralized finance and DeFi is decentralized finance. These are primarily the two flavors you get. So let's talk about both of them individually. So let's start with centralized finance. So guys, in CeFi, you lend your crypto to an organization, right? And in turn, they lend your crypto out further to both institutional traders and other entities who are looking to borrow crypto. So in exchange for doing this, you get a reward, and you typically get this reward on a daily or weekly basis, right? Now, as part of the facilitation process, you need to do KYC or know your client, right? One disadvantage of this method is that you do have to deposit your crypto with the centralized organization, right? So while it's with this organization, you don't actually own your private keys. They have access to them and they essentially own your private keys. And obviously one other sort of risk with this is that just like any other centralized organization, CeFi organizations that sort of have lending or offer lending and borrowing services, they can be hacked as well. And if a hack does happen, it is possible that you end up losing your funds as well, right? So that's something you wanna keep in mind. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the popular CeFi platforms are. So, three of the names you'll hear in the market are Celsius, Blockfi, and Nexo. Let's look at these three. Their service offering is similar in the sense that they all sort of offer lending, borrowing, paying with crypto, and then they always have an institutional arm as well, right? And most of them offer like credit cards as well. Celsius doesn't have a credit card yet, but both Blockfi and Nexo do. And Celsius is coming up with its own credit card. Now, in terms of which one of these services is, I guess has the most value, I would say Celsius, right? Because Celsius has about 25.2 billion in assets. They have more than 1 million users, and they've paid out, over 909 million in rewards, right? So they're based out of the US, and as is Blockfi, in fact. More for Europe, Nexo, I think caters more to the European market, right? And in terms of the kinds of rewards they offer, you won't see too much of a variance. In this space, you can assume that you'd get about almost 9%, 8.88 to 9% for stablecoins, and you'd get anywhere between 0.5 and 10 to 14%, depending on which one of these platforms you were talking about and which coin it is, which particular coin it is, right? So those are the kinds of APY rates that you can get, and yeah. So if you want to use these platforms for the US, I would recommend Celsius or even Blockfi, and then for Europe, I would recommend Nexo.io. Let's talk a little bit about decentralized lending. So just like centralized lending, the concept is the same, right? You're essentially lending your crypto out to both traders and institution and other entities who want to use your crypto for trading purposes. Except the biggest difference in DeFi or decentralized finance lending is the fact that instead of a centralized organization matching up, the two parties, right? So yourself and somebody else who wants to use your crypto, this is done by the network itself. So essentially what you are doing is you're lending your crypto out to a smart contract, and then that smart contract essentially is acting like a liquidity pool, and then anyone who uses that pool, right, is essentially could potentially be using your assets amongst other people's as well, and you get a reward for this. And the big difference here is that the crypto actually never leaves your wallet. The whole process is permissionless and trustless, so it doesn't leave your wallet. So you get to keep your crypto in your wallet. There's no need for KYC or know your client, right? You're not registering with any centralized entity, right? And the network has figured out a way to safely match folks in that case. The one thing to watch out for in DeFi transactions is that you can get somewhat high transaction fees, and you can get this especially on Ethereum-based lending platforms. Now, in terms of vulnerabilities, there is no centralized organization here, so there's not that type of hacking, but if someone manages to hack the smart contract in which you have provided your cryptocurrency as liquidity, well then in that case, really there is no recourse. Like the buck kind of stops with you. So meaning if it does get hacked, there's no one you can reach out to, there's no one you can sue, it's kind of over. So you've got to be really careful when using, DeFi platforms for your crypto. So let's look at some of the more famous DeFi platforms, right? So if you go to DeFi Pulse, that has a good list of these things. And really my top two are Aave and Compound Finance, right? And Maker is pretty good as well, right? And you can see these guys have, fairly large holdings in terms of total value locked. So Aave has like almost 15.4 billion. Maker is at 13.23, and then the Compound is almost at 10 billion. It's about 9.7 billion. So these are like some of the more well-known platforms in the DeFi space, and they all offer crypto lending and borrowing services, right? Now, in terms of what can you hope to make on platforms like this? Well, here's a snapshot of the crypto lending rates from these DeFi platforms for this month, October of 2021, right? You want to just make sure you ignore the centralized platforms because they have Blockfi, Nexo, and Celsius on there as well. But you'll generally see in Compound and Aave, they've got different rates for different coins. And just as is the case with centralized lending or CeFi lending, you get much more reward rates for your stablecoins as versus your altcoins, right? So for your stablecoin, you could get anywhere between 4 and 7%, using these different protocols. And then again, depending on which other asset you're looking at, Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, Algo, BAT, whatever it is, you get different rates across these platforms, right? And you're typically in DeFi platforms, your rewards compound automatically, and so you get that effect of compounding as well. So that's one big advantage with DeFi. And so guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That gives you a good understanding of what types of flavors we have in the lending market and the crypto lending and borrowing market, and talks about, we've spoken about what kind of rates you can get. You can get anywhere between 0.5% to like almost 8-9%, depending on which asset. In general, stablecoins give you better returns than regular altcoins. But yeah, it's a great way to make passive income in crypto. And I will be releasing videos in the future, getting a little bit more in depth, into some of these different platforms. So guys, I hope you enjoy that. It was a quick one, and until next time, peace.